the general kind of atmosphere at work every day was, well, let's just try it out. You know, it was very experimental, and it was amazing. Amazing to see how it all came out in the movie. I can see you around the corner. Chérie! Hi, darling.
Hey.
How are you? I haven't seen you for long. How are you? Come on, sit down. I think they're going to carry on doing this thing. Are we carrying on? Come on then.
Come and hit us now. No, well, okay.
But
I
did
have to
we
switch in more a nicer mode. We have to say the truth.
Okay. That's alright.
That you were bitching about everyone.
I was bitching about everyone. You never told me who else was up for the part.
No, not that. I'm pretty discreet for that. Everybody...
Bitching about who? I didn't bitch about
No,
anyone.
that's
That's
okay.
fucking mean.
Well, we cannot be nice to everyone. We have to get the story out.
We do have to get the story out. I'll kind of translate as well, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, I like when you translate my English into English. My Frenglish.
I love that story you told me, which I am going to tell now because it is very funny, about you being at dinner with a group of people, and I believe they were all women, and you said to the person that you were with, at the end of a big conversation, I wanted to speak.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to speak. And she said, well, speak then. If you want to speak, speak. No, I wanted to speak. I wanted to speak. Toothpick. I wanted to.
And that was my girlfriend.
I was your girlfriend, but I wasn't going to mention that because I didn't know how your heart was at the moment.
Well,
So, yes.
it's in pieces, but I'm used to this.
See, I understand you better than even your girlfriends can.
Oh, well, okay. I don't know what it said.
What does that mean?
I know. Yeah, that's too bad.
Well, can I just say for a minute though, which is something I've never even said to you. I was always amazed that you wanted me to play this part. I was truly amazed because it was so far removed from all the period films that I'd done. Clementine is nothing like, you know, any of the characters that I've played before. So I almost fainted to think that there could be some crazy director who was prepared to take this big old risk on classical Kate.
I thought that was great that you had this energy you had to be willing to do the part was very close to the energy
Of Clementine.
Of Clementine, yes.
But didn't we met here in LA, didn't we? And this is going back a couple of years. It must have been, I think the first time we met was actually at the end of, I think, 2001. And we just talked for a couple of hours. And I remember Jim was already doing the movie. But at that point, I think it wasn't officially green-lit. It wasn't officially happening. And then I remember we exchanged numbers. And then Michel kept calling me just to make sure that I hadn't taken another job, which I just loved that. I just loved the fact that made me feel frankly, really great about myself. Because you just ignored all the agents, everyone else, and just called me up, which was brilliant. I loved that. But I just remember I didn't do anything else, purely because I was kind of just holding out for Eternal Sunshine and just really hoping that it was going to happen, because I knew I'd really wanted to do it. Have you talked about your system with the earpieces, with the camera operators? Have you talked about that at all? Shall I explain it?
Yeah.
So what Michel did, actors often have marks, you know, pieces of tape on the floor or little sandbags, and, you know, you often have to hit your mark in a certain scene, and we never had marks. Never, ever. And so what Michel did was he had a little radio mic, like this one, of his own, and the two camera operators, because there were usually two on everything. There was Ellen, the DP, and Chris, who was the B camera operator. They had small earpieces. And so Michel could literally direct the actors before the shot, but also the camera whilst the shot was happening. So it meant that there was very little rehearsal. So what would happen was everything would change in every take. It was just different every time. The camera would be in a different place, and it didn't matter what Jim and I were doing or any of the actors were doing. So it gave the actors a lot of freedom, because it meant that we could just do the scene differently every single time. You know, we might have done one part of the scene sitting down on the sofa like this, and then we could have just decided to get up and walk to the window, when in the previous take we might have stayed sitting on the couch, which just meant that everything was very spontaneous and kind of fresh in every take.
Yeah.
So that we didn't kind of get stuck on a particular emotion or a particular scene. Or I myself loved the fact that you did that and you spoke to the operators during the take.
Could you hear me? Could you hear like a French?
I could hear you. I could hear you. But that's often because I was listening for you.
Okay. It's like there is one chance out of 10 it's gonna work. I don't know if you remember when we did the scene in the woods. It started really contrived. And a lot of time when we start, and it's not the actor. It's like the whole thing. It's ill. It's like not working.
Not working. Yeah.
And then if you get stuck trying to do the same, I mean, sometimes you can get past a level and get to really something true. And real. Sometimes you may as well really start fresh and start again. I remember the scene in the bed. The scene when you guys are in the bed and you were doing some painting.
Yeah.
And we did it through two different completely.
We did it completely different ways.
And I don't remember the one I picked, but I remember at the end of half of the day of shooting.
Well, I remember that scene very distinctly because it's the scene when Joel and Clementine are sitting on the bed and she says, "You don't tell me things, Joel."
Yeah.
It's that scene, and he says, "Oh, we don't have to. Communicating isn't always talking." And she says, "I don't constantly talk." And then she says, "I'm really pissed that you said that to me." And I remember the beginning of that scene originally. Clementine was doing one of her kooky little things. And sitting up in bed, I was painting hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
Yeah.
I was painting on hard-boiled eggs, and then we just scrapped that whole idea.
I don't know.
No, it's not in there. It
because
is still in there?
I think at some point we tried, okay, let's do it more intimate.
That's right, and then you had me do a more and I was kind of lounging on his shoulder, he was lying on his side. Yeah, I remember that. And he was like smelling my armpit or some crazy stuff. I can't remember. I
think it's important.
I remember there being a lot of armpit sniffing on this movie.
Yeah, a lot of sniffing and stuff. But yeah, it's good to be able to throw everything away and start fresh. And sometimes it's really hard for the producer to understand it. Like we're wasting time and like, no, we got it, it's fine. But I don't know, it's good, I think, to be endangered all the time.
Yeah, I agree. So, I loved it. I mean, I've never experienced that before, of just really being able to try stuff out. And I mean, we as actors, I know, always felt that if we'd all got to the end of a scene and we were moving on to something else, if we had felt that there was an idea that maybe we wanted to try, you know, that you always wanted to try whatever that was, because, you know, maybe it was going to be a good idea or not. But
sometimes always, I don't want to upset you.
Sometimes it was right, great. Fantastic. So sometimes it was just because you wanted to just humouring us to get us to give a good performance.
No, but it's a lot of time. It's like so many things I have to average in my process in my brain to give the answer. It's like, okay, well, Kate just gave me an idea. I think it kind of sucked, but
he said, I think it kind of sucks. Yeah. Carry on.
But maybe if I say no, she cannot be like a little upset or sad, and then it would be hard for her to perform after that. So I have to humor her and try it, and then I do it, and then it turned out that it's a better idea than my idea. So it's important. Sometimes I know it's a good idea, but sometimes so it goes like that as well.